streaming now. We are...
Ow!
Alright, I did like a quick test record, and I'm gonna see how that looks, and then we can officially begin. But before we get started, everybody is tuning in live, so go ahead and introduce yourselves, guys, for the people that are there, and then we'll officially start in just a moment.
Guys, we're live. Sorry.
There's hair on my microphone. Who wants to go
Is it
first?
your hair?
No, it's my cat's here from like 5 hours away.
Oh, we have 7 people watching already.
Yes! I haven't opened it yet. Actually, we have 9.
She sounds...
Oh. Yep.
No, now it says 8.
All of those boxes. Oh, hey, Chris. How's it going? Okay, I need your guys' help. Oh, wait. Never mind. I can pop out chat. Even better. Oh, bless. This works so nice.
Okay. I'm not opening. Wow.
Was I supposed to introduce myself?
I don't think we decided who was going to introduce themselves first. Oh my gosh, my hair's so frizzy.
Well, I'm looking at the chat, and hello to people that I don't know, and hello to everyone that I do know. I'm Kayla. I am currently in my new basement. Congratulations, me. My laptop isn't working right now for some reason, so I'm actually recording this off of my phone. So, like, I have my headset plugged into my phone, and then I have my phone propped up on all of, like, my arts and artifacts in Hyrule Historia, so...
Nice.
I'm looking at Kayla has a better computer now. Can you tell because everything looks different? It's my phone.
Alright, so is everybody ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Alright,
Yeah.
it looks like the stream's going good, so... Wait, Kayla has a pooter now? Okay, we have 14 people. That's enough to get started. Let me just exit off. I was really lazy today, so I wasn't able to update everything. We may skip over the topic of discussion, since we don't really have one. But yeah, is everybody ready?
See.
Yeah, let's do this.
The part that I always hate. Alright. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as all of you may know me, here with us on the Hylian Gamescast, episode 45, maybe, is Kayla.
Kayla!
Ilya.
That's me.
Yeah. And joining for the first time on the podcast, but not the first time on the actual YouTube channel, is someone who you all may know as Nintendo Box, or Maka. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Maka, for those who may not know who you are.
Yeah, I'm Maka. I used to have a YouTube channel called Nintendo Box, and now I run a blog by the same name.
Nice. So we, today, will be discussing the new Smash Brothers Direct that was just announced for like 2 or 3 days from now. Talking about what we hope to see or what we would like to see. We're going to be talking about Nintendo's online service. There's a tiny bit of news that came out for that, and there was something I was wanting to discuss about that, specifically with the virtual console, or what it's going to end up being called. We're going to give our thoughts on Wind Waker HD, because Daniel decided to miss out, and this was specifically for him because he recently replayed through the game. So one of the things that we've been wanting to do is sort of use this podcast whenever we have slow news weeks to review a game that we've all played, to give everyone our thoughts on it, sort of like what we did with Kayla. What was the name of the game? I forgot. I feel stupid.
Blossom Tales?
Yes, Blossom Tales. I feel horrible for that. I keep forgetting
Yes.
the name. And then, as always, we will end it with the Zelda Mailbag, where we go through and answer all of the questions sent in from guys like yourself. But sometimes we have so many questions we can't necessarily get to all of them. So if you would like to guarantee to have your question or your topic discussed on the podcast, then you can be a Patreon supporter, just like all of these other awesome people, like Jacob, Michael, Elmer, Bootleg Boy, Gus, Justin, That One Pancake, Key of Time 15, Monica, Casey, Link used the Triforce, Megan, Lunarium, Robbie, shout out to us, Rusty, and Lovable Christy. Plus, over the last 24 hours, we have some new Patreon supporters. I made a post last night, and there was a bunch of people that joined the Patreon. And thank you guys, because it's like 5 people in 24 hours. It was kind of crazy. But thank you, David. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Mandy Lee Plays, who we've actually had on the podcast. And thank you, Amanda, who actually, I believe, is in the chat. We're supposed to be watching tonight. We have some questions from a few of them to answer later on. So let's get started with our first piece of news. The Nintendo piece of news. I'm an idiot.
Piece of
Yeah, the Nintendo's Smash Brothers Direct. Now, I believe they first announced this during Evo, and then they made an official post on YouTube or Twitter. So here in a couple of days, we have an official Nintendo Direct coming all about Smash Brothers. Maka, you said this was something that you wanted to discuss earlier.
Yeah.
So why don't you start us off with you being our guest? What do you expect from this Nintendo Direct? Of course, the E3 Direct was all about Smash Brothers, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, like, they have already announced all of the characters coming out for it, or at least there could be a few more surprises, but they said like every character's coming back, and they've added like 1 or 2 new characters, like Ridley, who they previously stated could never be in a Smash Brothers games because he was too large, but there he is. So, or there she is. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Anyways,
I think.
Yeah, what do you expect them to announce for this? Because it's a Nintendo Direct all about Smash Brothers, but it seems like they've already announced everything that they could announce. So maybe this is like the single player adventure mode, or like the deep space, all of the single player stuff that they had. So what do you expect?
I'm really expecting a lot of single player stuff. I think they haven't really touched on that much at all yet, actually. And I'd expect a couple of new characters. I know Sakurai said that like they aren't expecting many characters. Or you shouldn't expect many characters because of the emphasis on everybody who's already ever been in a Smash. But I'm hoping for a couple of new ones, and I'd love Shantae to be in there, but that's a bit of a pipe dream. And then hopefully...
I think you made a post about that on Twitter earlier, that you wanted to see her on.
Yeah, I think I did, yeah. And, I love her. And I think that would be great, but I know loads of people want Shovel Knight and stuff. And really, I just want them to focus a lot on that single player, because I think that's something that Wii U and 3DS was lacking. I felt like it had a lot of content, but no substantial single player.
All right. Ilya, do you have any thoughts on the upcoming Nintendo Direct for the Smash Brother?
Quite honestly, not really. I mean, I'm excited for it, and I'll definitely watch it if I'm not walking on the beach, because it's in the next couple days. But I don't mean that to sound like I'm gonna be walking on the beach. No, I don't mean it like that. But because I've never been a huge Super Smash Brothers fan, not in the sense of like I don't like Smash Brothers. It is something that when I have friends and we get together, it's a lot of fun. So I don't have any particular thoughts on it, except I'm excited to see whatever it is, because this game looks like it is Ultimate.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because like they've went back and they haven't just added all of the old characters, they've like tweaked and added in new stuff for the characters and everything. But Kayla, what are your hopes and dreams?
I hope that with the backlash of the lack of Waluigi, we will finally see him as a playable character in Smash. And no, I am not trolling you guys. I am totally serious.
I agree.
Because they know. they know what they've done. They know that they're guilty of neglecting our beautiful Waluigi. So there's still hope. Other than that, I'm hoping maybe they'll talk more about third-party characters that'll be there, because I feel like we didn't really touch too much on that, so much as we just kind of talked about like all of the characters from previous games are going to be there. So also maybe like the announcement of more Echo characters as well.
Yeah. I think the Echo characters is something that they haven't done before, right? That's new for this game. Do you know, Luca?
Definitely never gave it a name before. I think it's just kind of clone characters, but they're kind of owning it, I guess.
Yeah, like they like obviously you had like Zelda that could switch to Sheik and stuff like that, but there was never really like you said a name for it.
Yeah.
So, who was it? They had the Fire Emblem character they added to the Wii U and 3DS Smash Brothers. I forgot his and her name, but like they were essentially Echo characters or clone characters of each other, where like one was the male character, the other was the female character. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Talking about Corin.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think stuff like that would be interesting. I hope they end up going a bit further later on into like the character rosters and stuff, like making Demise maybe an Echo character of Ganondorf or something like that.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even seeing like Girahim or other characters in there, like if they don't want to go through and completely change and create a new moveset, just add them in as like different skins of other characters.
That would be hard though, because I feel like Girahim would have a very different skill set compared to like Demise and Ganon.
Like sticking his tongue out. That would be his skill set.
That would have to be an ability. It would be his grab.
His ultimate would just be grabbing someone and like licking their face. It just makes the character want to run and jump off the edge.
Be like, no what? I'll just jump off myself. Goodbye.
Yeah. That was they changed the Breath of the Wild Link's ultimate for the new Smash Brothers. It's something that's actually representative of what he does in the actual game, as opposed to the crazy Triforce slash thing that he does in
also
games.
I remember we made note of this the other day, well, actually a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, that they finally changed DK's Smash into something that's actually relevant, not just him playing the drums. Now it's actually from like Tropical Freeze, where he's like
something
the
useful.
XY. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff that they could do with it. I expect them to reveal one new character that they haven't, like at least just one new character that they haven't mentioned previously. And with them saying, it's really weird listening to what Sakurai's saying about Smash Brothers or the rest of the people at Nintendo, because with them saying like a character like Ridley would never be able to be in a Smash Brothers game because he's too big, and now he's in the game. So whenever they say that there won't be too many brand new characters because they only want to focus on the older characters, it's like, well, you said the same thing about Ridley, and now we have Ridley, so we can't take this as 100%. But I definitely think not having DLC characters or other third-party characters come in is just Nintendo leaving money on the table. Like almost everyone who bought the old Smash Brothers for Wii U and 3DS also bought DLC, at least one or two of the characters. I don't know too many people that bought the game but none of the DLC. So for Nintendo to not try and, release DLC characters, even like a cool way they could do it is, I don't think they would need to do this because all of the amiibo sell out anyways, but like if they, instead of releasing it as DLC, they release it as you buy this amiibo for whoever, Banjo-Kazooie, and then if you tap it, then Banjo-Kazooie will just like be unlocked for the game, which is They did something like that with Mario Maker, where you could tap the amiibo and then you unlock
skins,
you unlock the skin to play as the pixel art for that character in Mario Maker.
Please don't make me have to buy amiibos. I wouldn't wait.
I'm
Can
so
you
done
tap?
with amiibo.
Can you tap an amiibo that's already been tapped?
What?
What do you mean?
Like for instance, like if I used my Fox amiibo, like can you tap them across multiple consoles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about amiibos. Okay, there we go. So I don't need to worry about it. I'll
We
just go
don't have
over
Daniel.
to. I was gonna say I'll go to Daniel's place and be like, "Hey, Daniel."
Yeah. And like I think
Be like, okay, bye.
some games even have like certain like actual levels that you unlock by tapping amiibo as well. I want to say Toad's Treasure Tracker had certain levels unlock if you tapped amiibo.
Oh.
I'm not really sure.
Believe so. In fact, I was just thinking two things that I actually am hoping. Well, one that I'm hoping, and one that I'm thinking will actually happen for the new Smash, especially in this Direct, is thing that I think that's actually going to happen is, you remember Xenoblade Chronicles X or Xenoblade Chronicles Cross?
Yeah. The Wii U.
Yeah, Elma from that. I think she's going to be added in. I think that it kind of makes sense with like the time that it started development. It won't be a Xenoblade 2 character, but we know that Sakurai really likes that series, so that kind of makes sense. And then one that's like another pipe dream is that all like the big third parties have a representative, and Atlas really support Nintendo. I would love to see Jack Frost in there, which is like Shin Megami Tensei's Pikachu. He's the mascot. I'd just love to see him running around in Smash.
Yeah, there was I think it was like Brawlhalla or something. It was one of the Smash Brothers clones, but it was made by like an indie studio. They recently,
like the indie one, yeah.
Yeah, they recently announced that Yooka-Laylee was appearing in their game. So Yooka-Laylee and Banjo-Kazooie was one of the main characters that a lot of people wanted to see in Smash Brothers. And with Yooka-Laylee being in this game, I think that's less of a chance that we could see Yooka-Laylee in Smash Brothers, but who knows? Like, they could still show up. But I think if Nintendo did get one of them, Banjo-Kazooie would be the one that people want the most, but then it's like, that's a Microsoft thing. And then I remember while we were at E3, Kayla, when you, Daniel, and I were sitting at the Game Spot, where the GameSpot studio place, where they were interviewing not Phil Spencer. I can't remember his name, but he was in charge of the Xbox Live stuff.
Oh yeah, I don't remember his name. Yeah.
Yeah, they asked him who or which Microsoft character that he would like to see show up in Smash Brothers, and he said something along the lines of he would be open or a fan of any of the Microsoft characters showing in Smash Brothers, but if he had to choose, he would want it to be Master Chief from Halo. And I remember thinking that is the wrong answer. I know Microsoft likes to push Halo
That's
as
wrong.
their... Yeah, like...
That is the worst
I never
answer.
thought there would be a wrong answer for like which character you would like to see in Smash Brothers. But
No.
I can see why he said it, because they like to push Halo as like their big first party franchise, because it used to be like back in the original Xbox and Xbox 360 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was the game to play.
Yeah, but now
Yeah.
it's kind of like an afterthought when you think of like,
Yeah.
what Xbox game do you want to play, because when it comes to first-person shooters like Call of Duty, Battlefield, and other shooters kind of took over, where Halo really isn't looked at like that anymore. There's even rumors that like they're changing the multiplayer of the next Halo game, which I think they teased like the next Halo game at E3, but they rumor is saying that just like Call of Duty this year, instead of having the traditional multiplayer, they're making it a battle royale style Halo. So,
We are going to have the stock Fortnite character in Smash. That is what is happening.
the stock Fortnite character.
Yeah, just like you just get random Fortnite skins.
Yeah,
That is the new
I just
character.
wanted to mention in chat, Houdini and Brev Games were talking about how they really want to see just like a sneak peek of what the menu will look like, because apparently that's like the super hype of all Smash games.
yeah. The way that the menus look in Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never really understood
I
that.
never noticed.
There's always people that's made a big deal about what it looks like, but for me, like, I never put too much into it. Someone joked around earlier on Twitter. They were like, what else could they possibly announce for Smash Brothers, since they've already announced like all of the characters, and I think all or at least most of the stages are coming back. And it's like, is it going to be a Nintendo Direct where it's just like naming off all of the returning songs and stuff?
Oh.
But, yeah, I guess we can kind of end this piece of the news on what are 2 things that you guys would like to see, whether it's a certain event taking place in like a single player campaign style story or a specific character that you would like to see. Starting with you, Maka.
I'd say big emphasis on single player, make a kind of a story mode. I'm not bothered about like a subspace emissary kind of thing. I want kind of like, I'd be more than satisfied with kind of halfway between Melee and Brawl's story mode, and also Jack Frost or Shantae in there. That's the dream.
What about you, Ilya? Don't say
There's
Banjo.
only one. What? That's exactly what I was gonna say. If I could have anything, it would be Banjo-Kazooie. I would legit cry. Like, I'm not even joking. If I could have anyone, it would be Banjo-Kazooie. Second
Me
to
too,
that, I guess,
probably.
would be, like, Waluigi. But, like, not even naming 2 things. My one main thing would be Banjo-Kazooie, because my 2 main childhood games were Ocarina of Time and Banjo-Kazooie. So, I have distinct memories of dying in Banjo-Kazooie and running off into the hallway and having a tantrum on the hallway floor at age 4, screaming, "I died, I don't know what happened."
All right.
You should see me play Banjo. I'm very angry when I play.
Yeah,
Um,
this is a bit off topic, but I was talking to someone the other day and they said that they loved Banjo-Kazooie, but whenever they went to play Banjo-Tooie, it was just a giant, like, they said that the worlds were too big. There wasn't really anything to do except collect stuff, and I never really looked at it that way.
That's what Banjo-Kazooie is.
Yeah, like,
Collecting
Banjo-Kazooie
stuff.
is a collecting game.
yeah, like people
What are
always
you
refer to
talking
them
about?
as collectathons, but
Collectathon.
yeah.
And
but
it's nowhere
whenever-
near
Or
as bad as
Cousin Tate would say,
DK64.
Walk Simulator.
Yeah.
Yeah. My brother preferred Tooie, but my mom and I prefer Kazooie, the first one, just because that's the only one we ever finished.
Yeah. All right. Kayla, 2 things that you would like to see, or did you name off 2, Ilya? Or you just? Got
I
the
mean,
one?
I didn't have a second one. The only one I want is Banjo-Kazooie.
Okay, Kayla.
So mine would be probably more Echo characters for sure, because like they kind of touched base on it, and I feel like they can do so much more with that based on the current roster we have. And honestly, just like announce some third-party characters. I don't care who it is, just give us some third-party characters, like Shovel Knight or Banjo.
I liked the thought of, and I don't know if, for some reason I'm confused on this, but in the same way that they updated the adult Link to Breath of the Wild Link, they also could give us like a Paper Mario. Paper Mario's never appeared in Smash Brothers, has he?
I don't believe
I
so.
don't think so.
No. So like if they did something where they gave us like Paper Mario and Paper Luigi, and then like make Yoshi, one of Yoshi's skin, like Yarn Yoshi, or gave us like Kirby from like Kirby's Epic Yarn or whatever it was called. So like updates and stuff like that would be really cool. And then other than the update of a bunch of the characters or giving us like updated skins, I would really like to see like a focus on the story content, because like a lot of fighting games don't really have great stories because it's a fighting game. It doesn't really need a great story. But the subspace single player mode used to be interesting because it was official. It was kind of like official Nintendo fan fiction, to where it's like, okay, why are all of these people coming together? Like, why is Bowser, Mewtwo, Mario, Link, all of the Fire Emblem people coming together to work together or fight against each other? And the story, no matter how clever the story is, it's always going to be kind of absurd. But it's still interesting to see what Nintendo's focus is. And then in the cutscenes, they always have like really nice character models and stuff. So I would love to see more of a focus on that, especially now with like Breath of the Wild having voice acting and stuff. If they went in and like gave all the characters voice acting, maybe that could be sort of a hint at to like, they have the new Mario animated movie coming out sometime next year, I believe. So it's like, maybe that could give us a future look or a future example of what to expect from like the Mario movie. Or would they just get the same voice actor and reuse him to where Mario's only speaking 2 or 3 words? I don't know. It's just like a lot of stuff that I could see them doing that could point at like what direction they're going in the future. Maybe they could explain why Snake's butt was chopped off in the game.
No explanation for that.
Day Lopez in the chat said Beautiful Joe as a character, third party character. I'm all behind that. I love Beautiful Joe. They're great game. He's got a lot of style. That would be a cool addition.
Yeah.
Also, Nintentalk was saying in the chat that he would like to see them expand on the level or editor, which I think would be really cool, especially if we have like a really neat way to kind of like play online with each other. It'd be really awesome to be like, hey guys, like come check out this thing I built, and it's just some super terrible level that you've made that's basically a death trap, and everyone joins and they're like,
what happened?
That's what I want.
Yeah. All right. Our second piece of news. Does anyone have anything final to say on this before we move on to the second piece of news?
I'm so excited.
So excited. Maka, as our guest, would you like, because sometimes we can give our guests the opportunity to read out some news. So would you like to take the next piece of news and read it out? All you have to do is like say the title of the news, read like the first couple of paragraphs, and say like where the news is from and everything.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't have to. We just like to offer the opportunity to some of the guests.
Okay. So next news is Wind Waker HD
No.
review. No? It's not.
The third one. Yeah. We're going to use that for the topic of a discussion. So like the next actual piece of news, not the thing.
Okay.
Sorry about
that. Click the link and read it.
Yeah.
When my laptop decides to work, since it's the slowest thing
we were actually talking about this in chat the other day.
Yeah, so the news is Nintendo Switch Online subscription not being needed for free to play games like Fortnite, which I think is really cool actually, because you do need it for stuff like Xbox Live. So I thought that was quite generous actually.
Yeah, the Hello?
Hello?
Alright.
Hello?
What?
I don't know, my thing cut out. Sorry. Alright, I'm just gonna redo this, and then we'll go from there. Because I want to take it into more of a discussion thing. I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah.
Alright, sorry. You guys ready?
Yep. 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright. So, the Nintendo Switch Online subscription might not be required for free-to-play games. This comes from Nintendo Enthusiast, which we're going to get to the news, but we also have an interesting thing that I would like to discuss about the subscription service and the retro NES, SNES classic type games. But we'll discuss that in a second. The actual news from Nintendo Enthusiast says, with the coming launch of Nintendo Switch Online in September, Switch owners' ability to play online multiplayer is changing soon. Owners will have to pay one of the 4 types of membership fees to access online play in various games, but it seems like free-to-play games will be excluded and will not require a subscription, while others, of course, will. So, Maka, do you play any of the online games for Switch right now?
So I have played a little bit of Fortnite. I'm dreadful. All of my friends are far better than me. Tend to just sit in a room and camp because it's the only way I can get any good rating. But I played a bit of that, and I played some Paladins. It's actually really fun. It's like a pretty good Overwatch-like game. So I would recommend that. But it does seem like the Switch is getting a steady stream of these kind of games, which we've never really seen on a Nintendo system before. So it's kind of good news. It's kind of more important than you'd have thought as well.
Yeah, the thing whenever they first started and they mentioned they were going to have people paying for the online service, my first thought was Nintendo has the perfect games for online multiplayer, but none of them really used multiplayer. Like we've seen like Smash Brothers and Pokemon and Mario Kart are really the main games, like when you would think of traditional Nintendo games. But then since then, there's been games like Splatoon and ARMS that have established themselves as games that kind of need an online functionality to play, because playing ARMS is kind of boring by yourself. Playing Splatoon, while the DLC for Splatoon 2 is interesting if you play it single player, but playing it alone is really boring for me. I don't know about you guys. And then they've had like Mario Tennis Aces, which they've really released recently, that has a really good online mode. But generally, when you think of multiplayer games on Nintendo, there aren't too many. So it's interesting that Nintendo's started to put more of a focus with online games. And some of the other games, like so Super Mario 3D World, for instance, it was the 3D Mario game they released for the Wii U. You could play 4-player couch co-op, which was fun, but then there was no online for it. And then with Nintendo Land, which was a launch Wii U title, it was honestly for me one of the funnest Wii U games that there was, but there was no online for it. I looked at these games and thought, like, you don't always have a friend beside you if you're going to play like New Super Mario Bros. Or whatever, or Super Mario 3D World. But like, why doesn't Nintendo ever have online modes in these games? It's always couch co-op with no online. But now that they have more of a focus on online, or at least they're putting more of a focus with online games, do you guys see them doing like these classic couch co-op games? Do you see them changing those to where it still has couch co-op, but you can also play online with it? Because with Miyamoto, whenever they did New Super Mario Bros., he said that, and then I think they said something similar with like Nintendo Land, which was the reason that they didn't have online co-op or online multiplayer was they just thought playing with someone on the couch next to you is a better experience than playing with someone online. And I wonder if their statement's going to change sometime in the future after this launches, because like with New Super Mario Bros., they said they called it new because they wanted you to think it was going to be a new experience, because traditionally playing 2D Mario games, it was only single player. And then they called it new to get it in fans, like get it into the minds of fans that it is a new type of experience, which in this case was the couch co-op multiplayer, which was done for the first time. So probably restated the same thing 3 or 4 times there. I'm sorry, guys, but yeah, where do you see this going for future games in Nintendo's world of multiplayer? Do you see them going back and making these games online multiplayer, or do you see them just focusing on like ARMS 2 or the games that already have multiplayer? Ilya, you go first.
I really hope they take advantage of this. I mean, I think all of us could relate, and I think a lot of other gamers can relate too. A lot of your friends that you want to play with don't live near you. You know, most people I know that play games do not live anywhere near me. They don't even live in the same state as me. So the only time like we ever got to play multiplayer together was if we had free time when we were all at college together. But who has free time at university? No one. We were trying to make A's, if even B's. But so I hope they take advantage of it and allow things that other systems have already done, and maybe, you know, put their own Nintendo spin on it. But things like being able to do voice chat and everything while you're playing, so you can hear your friends getting mad and everything when you whoop their butt or they kick your butt. You know, things like that. I hope it's not limited to just games that already have online multiplayer. I think it should be expanded, and I really hope they do that. But in their own Nintendo way. Don't be exactly like the other franchises, but be open to it. I know they're trying to be kid-friendly, but I think there's a way they can be kid-friendly and safe and still have this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kayla, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I actually thought it was really interesting because you were talking about how, like, you feel like there aren't many multiplayer games for Nintendo, and I was thinking about it, and it's like, Nintendo is my go-to for multiplayer games. But, yeah, I really hope that, especially because, you know, I'm still hoping that, like, an Animal Crossing happens for Nintendo Switch. So,
Yes.
Of course I'm thinking, like, please give me an online service, because I don't know anyone that loves Animal Crossing as much as I do in person. It would have to be one of you guys. And then also in that sense, it's like being able to open up, being able to play games online together like that would be amazing, because we have such an amazing Discord community that I would love to be a part of that with all of you guys. Like, we already play Splatoon together, we already play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe together, so I think to be able to expand on that and to be able to do like more like online co-op type would be just my happy soul.
Yeah.
But don't get rid of couch co-op, because I have a boyfriend and we love playing video games together.
Nice. All right.
And you know, occasionally when we hang out together at E3 or whatever, you know, gotta be able to play those games side by side.
Yeah, I think next E3 we had a good time just watching and laughing at the Nintendo Treehouse playing Mario Party on the Switch. So I imagine, like, if we're actually playing the game and not watching Nintendo play the game, it would be like 10 times more fun.
Just a warning, if I do get to go to E3 and we do play Mario Party, I am aggressive at that game. I suck at it, but I am mean. I get so pissed off so easily. Not Mario Kart, not Smash Brother or any games like that, but for some reason Mario Party, it's the one that ruins relationships.
It's okay. Mario Party is the reason why I have a hatred towards Donkey Kong. He ruined my life. I can't remember what it was, but there's like, I think it was like one of the Mario Parties for Wii, and you're on like a train and you're going forward in one direction. I can't remember what it was called for the life of me, but you press on a button and it like moves the train car from where you are, and it like moves you all the way back. And so I stepped on a DK spot or whatever, and it moved me all the way back, and I was like, are you kidding me? Donkey Kong? I thought you were my friend. And ever since that, I'm just like, keep Donkey Kong away from me. Yeah. We are not friends.
With the multiplayer games like Mario Party. Did you guys, again off topic, did you guys play the mini games that were part of like Pokemon Stadium and Pokemon Stadium 2?
Oh yeah.
Of course.
The Lickitung one was my favorite. And the Eevee.
Yeah, right?
No, it was Rattata jumping, that one.
Yeah.
I like that one, but my favorite was Lickitung because I just loved giving them the hot stuff on purpose, and then they run
I love
around.
the way that they, like, the screaming and the sounds they make. I love that one.
Which I just got a shiny Lickitung on Pokemon Quest. I'm very excited.
Oh.
Maka, we haven't got to you yet.
Yeah.
What are some ideas or thoughts you have for multiplayer Nintendo games and this online service they have?
I just want to kind of, I do agree. I think that like couch co-op ultimately is like the way to play multiplayer. It's so fun when you just together with someone like in person and you just either getting really aggressive at Mario Party or just having fun. Like Nintendo seem to have this ability to make these games that just make you want to rip off your best friend's head or your girlfriend or boyfriend's head. Like I don't know how they manage it, but they do. At the same point in time, like it was a really good point. Like not everybody wants to play or can play with people who they're like within walking distance of or something. So I think that it's really important that Nintendo actually utilize this, especially with it being a paid service now. It kind of gives them that that reason to actually pay attention to online now, because they kind of have to. But honestly, because it's Nintendo, I kind of don't think that they will. I think you kind of see that with people have been like clamoring for Mario Party to have a fully fledged online mode for ages now, and I think they are putting some online. I think I heard at E3 they're putting some online into Super Mario Party, but it's just mini games. It's not like the full board game. And I was like, I remember reading the article and being like, classic Nintendo. Like almost what you want, but we gotta take a little bit away.
Yeah, there's like the thing that I always think of with like the so Mario Maker came out on Nintendo Wii U and later the 3DS, and they said like a lot of the fans were like, where could they go with 2D Mario from here? Like there's no point of Nintendo releasing another 2D Mario game, because on the Wii U and 3DS we basically have an infinite number of levels, because everyone can go in, make their own levels, upload them, different types of levels. Like there's some that are just based off of the idea of solving a puzzle. There's some that are do this super impossible thing where you have to like tap jump at the exact right moment. There's some where like they just make kind of like, whenever Nintendo says they broke the conventions of what like a traditional Zelda game is with Breath of the Wild, in Super Mario Maker, the fans took all of the normal tools of a Mario game and completely created a new type of game while still leaving it as Mario, which kind of may not make sense unless you're thinking of it the way I am. Anyways, a lot of the things that I was hearing people say is like, where could they go after this? Because you have like an infinite number of Mario games. Like if Nintendo releases like new Super Mario Bros. Switch, and it's not Mario Maker where you can create your own levels, then they are going to look at it as if it's like a backstep instead of a further progression. But the way that I'm thinking of it is how you can make it a further progression and not look at it as like taking a step back, is you add in the online multiplayer. Like you originally had Super Mario Bros. Where, you know, it was the side-scrolling 2D Mario game, and then in New Super Mario Brothers you have it to where you can play couch co-op. Like people, you're not sharing a controller now, you can actually play with 4 people on the screen at the same time. And then they had Super Mario Maker where you could create your own levels in that. So if they took away the ability to create your own levels, it would kind of look like you're making a lesser version of the game. But an easy way to get around that is if they say, well, in this one you can't create your own levels, but we're still continuing the series because it's no longer couch co-op only. You can now play online with people. And I think that's really something that we could look forward to with the next Super Mario. Like, I don't think they would call it Super Mario Bros. Online, but whatever they end up calling it, I think they would have it tied into the online service. But I would be worried that they would take away the couch co-op portion of it. But just my idea. I'm thinking maybe too much about this. I don't know. Anyways, what are your guys' thoughts? Do you think,
I think that
you could expect...
in as far as like, yeah, I think with 2D Mario, like, I don't know about you, but with the new Super Mario Bros. Games, honestly, I don't think I'd mind the couch co-op being taken away, because that stuff is just mental. Like, I did not know how to play with like 3 other friends just like running around, and you end up throwing each other loads, and it worked well in a 3D space, but in a 2D space, I'm fine on my own.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys agree? You would like to see the online Mario?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't
I
play
think that
much
would
of
actually be
side-scrolling Mario.
I think it would be really fun and really chaotic, and man, I would love to just like swear and be aggressive towards Jesse and Tevi and Jacoby all online
Giving
playing
everybody
Mario.
shout-outs. All right, so this was originally a second part of this discussion, but I was going to just make it into its own little thing. So I'm going to give you guys a thought that I've had for a long time. I think I've mentioned it on past videos. I've wanted to make it its own topic. I thought it could fit into this, but the virtual console and online service are kind of 2 different things. But are you guys ready for the next thing? This one will just be like 5 minutes. All right. So I have an idea. Nintendo has a problem with the NES Classic and the SNES Classic selling out. It looks like my camera's glitching. I don't know if you guys can see that on the thing. But anyways, they have a... Oh, it's really getting annoying now. I don't know what's wrong. Hold on. I want to see if...
Okay. It's not happening here, but okay.
I don't think it's glitching on my end either.
Alright.
No, it's fine on mine.
It's fixed now. Maybe it's just on like the my screen, but like my face was blacking out and then bluing out and then coming back. It was really distracting. Anyways, so starting over. Nintendo's had a lot of problems with the NES selling out and the SNES selling out, which really isn't a problem. Like, I think all companies want their stuff to sell out. But when it comes to fans that are wanting to purchase the NES Classic or the SNES Classic, and they can't because they're either sold out, they're late, or people bought 10 of them because they want to sell them online for whatever reason. So Nintendo answered this by releasing a second stock of the NES Classics that came out after the original SNES Classics, but they keep selling out. And they also have a situation with their virtual console to where people are wondering exactly what is it going to be, because they came out and said that the name Virtual Console was not coming to the Nintendo Switch. You would be able to get retro games like old NES games with added online functionality as part of the Nintendo Online service. They just weren't going to be released under the Virtual Console brand, which kind of sucks because I'm a fan. Like, I think it's just a cool name, Virtual Console. It gets very straight to the point. So an idea that I had to satisfy everyone who wants the Virtual Console and people who want the NES Classics is Nintendo to come out, make an announcement whenever this the Nintendo Online service comes out, and they could say something along the lines of, "We are very proud to say that the SNES, the NES classics are a huge success. I think last month it was announced that the NES Mini outsold the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, the Nintendo Switch, like everything. So like, obviously, people want them. So a good way for Nintendo to make money and everything, and fans to get these games and be happy, is if Nintendo came out and said, thank you for making it a success. We apologize that a lot of fans who wanted the games and the consoles weren't able to get them. So what we're going to do is, if you guys know of the NES remix or the SNES remix that came out on like the 3DS or the Nintendo Wii U, to where they had like these mini games made from all of these classic games. So do something like that where they release the Super Nintendo or NES games on the Nintendo Switch as a cartridge. So like the 30 games that comes with the NES Classic, or the 20 games, however many there were, that came with the SNES Classic, instead of paying the $70 or $80 or $60, however much they were for these consoles, just pay like $40 for the cartridges that just has, like, it could just be called the NES collection or like the NES mini collection, and then it has all of those 30 games, or the SNES mini collection and it has those 20 games or however many was on there. And then you could have these games physically, or you could buy it as like an online package and have the games just installed on your Switch. That way you have all of the same games that you would have on the NES Classic, but they're just on your Switch, and it's exactly the same. It comes with all of the same emulation software, so you can change the way it looks on the screen and everything. Maybe even sell like the NES controllers or the SNES controllers that you can buy for the classic system, but have them plug in like via USB to like the Switch dock or whatever. And then Nintendo would make more money because they don't have to pay the manufacturing cost of having these little NES cartridges, or not cartridges, but like the little mini NES consoles or the mini SNES consoles with like the CPU, the GPU, the RAM, the hard drive space, and everything that they have. They just have to release a cartridge with all the games on it. And so they end up saving a lot of money. Even though they're selling it cheaper than what they would the actual consoles, they end up making more money because they don't have to pay for all of the manufacturing costs. They're just paying whatever it costs to make the smallest size cartridge. Or if they sell it online, then yeah, they don't have to like upload it in a virtual console store. They don't have to worry about, well, people might buy Super Mario Bros. 3, but nobody's going to buy whatever this other obscure game is. So we're going to lose money if we just, you know, put it on there and then no one buys it. But if they bundle them all in, then everyone who can't buy the SNES or NES classics have the opportunity to play those games the exact same way that they would be played on those consoles, but they also get the chance to take them on the go. I don't know, it's like I probably could have worded that a little bit better, but that's a thought that I've always had, is just Nintendo coming out and being like, hey, the NES Classic, the SNES Classic was a huge success. Thank you all. We apologize to the fans who wanted to buy one but weren't able to. So as a thank you and as an apology, both at the same time, you can buy all those same games but on a single cartridge for your Nintendo Switch. So not only can you play it on the TV and have the fun nostalgia trip, but you can also take those games with you on the go. So that's a long way of me saying how I would love for them to do that. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts? Sorry, Kayla, you go first.
So, part of that I agree with. Like, personally, I would be the kind of person that would really like to just have the cartridge and be able to play it on my Nintendo Switch. Like, I think that would be amazing. And even if I could, like, digitally download it and they added it to the marketplace, like, that'd be, or the eShop, that'd be awesome. But another big part of that is that we have collectors like Daniel, who, like, what if, like, for instance, the N64 Mini, whenever they do that, Could you imagine if they're like, hey, you know what? Like, SNES and NES did so well, we're just not even going to give you guys a physical mini N64. We are just going to give you the games on the Nintendo Switch because it is cheaper for us to do, and we still get lots of money to do it. So that for me is like, I hope they keep following through with what they're doing, but I totally agree. Like, I would love to be able to play it on my Nintendo Switch, but that's just because it's convenient for me. And as we speak, What?
I was gonna say, do you think they would do that though? Like, I imagine, like, they could release it for the older NES and SNES Mini, but then, like, whenever they get to whether it's the Game Boy Mini Classic or the Nintendo 64 Classic, they would release it, and then, like, 3 months later or something, then they would release the Switch version, is how I see them doing it. That way they could still sell all of the consoles, and then for the people that weren't able to, they would be able to get the Switch version.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like, I feel like that would be the best way to do it, so that way people don't get angry. I think if they, like, have their initial, like, release of something, and then once it's all, like, sold out and people can't get it, bring it as a physical copy that people can buy in store, because that way they'll feel less like they've missed out or like they've been ripped off of something, and then the people that actually got the physical console won't be, like, super butthurt and be like, what the heck? They released it on Switch after I went out and bought the physical console? I don't know. People like to complain.
Okay, so the last part of this that I thought of is with the NES and the SNES games that are coming to the Nintendo Switch online service. They said that they were going to go and, like, add in this online functionality for them, which I don't necessarily know how that would work, because I think one of the games they talked about was Super Mario Brothers. So maybe it's just like a leaderboard.
Leaderboards, yeah.
Yeah, to where, like, your high score will be ranked against other people's high score. But then in games like Super Mario Circuit could actually have, or Super Mario Kart Super Circuit, whatever it was called, like, games like that could have traditional online multiplayer. And then they have games like Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. Whenever they added them to the 3DS eShop, they added in the online functionality to where, like, you could trade your Pokemon online with other people, and it wasn't just stuck on being played the same way that the original Game Boys were. But anyways, the second part of this is with them doing that and the Nintendo 64 online service likely being the next. What is an N64 game that you would like to see, if they did bring it to the Switch, have this online functionality added to it?
Wait, haven't we had this conversation already?
Yeah, but this is just, like, one game.
Oh, like okay.
Not like a N64 game being added to the Nintendo 64 Classic, just one that you would like to see this online functionality added to. So that's like a second part of this, the question about not only give your thoughts on doing this SNES, NES Classic for the Switch thing, but also if they continued it with the Nintendo 64, what would the online game that you would like to see? Like Perfect Dark, Super Mario Kart, or Super Mario 64 or whatever. What would be your online game?
Mine's still the same answer as last time. It would be Mystical Ninja starring Goemon.
Did that have multiplayer?
Yes, it did actually.
Alright.
Yes.
I still need to look that game up.
There are a bunch of different versions of it. The one on N64 was a multiplayer, but I think they had it on Super NES. One was multiplayer. I don't remember.
Alright, well...
But yeah, everyone else, give your answers. Yeah. I've done lots of talking.
Going to you, Maka, what are your overall thoughts on... Like, how would you like to see them do the SNES Mini? Would you like to see them bring it to the Nintendo Switch to where you could just buy a single cartridge and have all the games? Or would you like to see them release the games individually like they do on the Virtual Console or eShop?
Ideally, I'd like the cartridge because I think it's probably going to be the best value for money. I think that at times the Virtual Console was inflated in terms of price, and that kind of like minimized it a bit. I don't see them doing that, to be honest, but I would love it. And also the other thing that I'd like is I'm not sure in what form it'd take, but I'd love to see like Gamecube games on the Switch in some form. I mean, the thing is with the Switch is that it's kind of ruined. It's kind of ruined console gaming for me. Like I lay in bed with the handheld and I'm just like, oh, this is so much more convenient, even though my TV's right there at the other end of the room. So as much as I want to play all these GameCube games that I remember from my childhood and N64 games as well. I'm like, well, I don't want to get out my GameCube. I just want to play it on the go. So I'm kind of hoping for that, really.
All right, Ilya. What about you? No, wait, Maka. The N64 game that you would like to see with multiplayer, online multiplayer.
I would say Pokemon Colosseum, but I feel like that's kind of been like surpassed now.
Well, that's GameCube.
So. Oh, not Colosseum.
Stadium. Yeah.
Stadium. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because even playing all of those mini games that we were talking about just a moment ago online.
That would be sweet online, to be fair. Yeah, no, I'm gonna go with Stadium.
All right. Ilya.
Well, I as someone who has a Switch, yay, I have a Switch. I love the idea of I'm with Kayla. I would prefer to just have the cartridge for my Switch, but the only downside I can see is even if, you know, they still make the little consoles and then they give it for the Switch, is someone who can't afford a Switch, like where I was a little bit ago, which granted it was a birthday gift, very expensive birthday gift, but someone who's like, but I don't have a Switch, so I don't have either now. So I imagine that being a downside for them. But can't please everyone, and people are gonna complain. Like Kayla said, people just complain anyway. As far as what N64 game I would want, well, Banjo-Kazooie does not have multiplayer, so there's that. The only one I can think of that would be really interesting for me is the multiplayer portion of Donkey Kong 64, because that is such a laughable section. My family and I would play it, and it's so weird, but I would so be down for playing that. I mean, bring Donkey Kong 64. It was so weird, but that's pretty much the gist of my exposure to Donkey Kong. I've tried side-scrolling ones, but I don't like them. I don't know what it is, because I'm used to 64. But yeah, I would want that. It would never happen. But if it could, that would be hilarious.
The game that I would like to see have the online multiplayer would be I don't think they would be able to do it because it's just like Microsoft have the rights now, but like the multiplayer that was in Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, which I think it was only
Tooie. Was
it only Tooie? All right, so
yeah, Banjo-Kazooie didn't have anything.
Yeah, the multiplayer in that was really fun for me. It reminded me a lot of Perfect Dark, but with just the Banjo characters. But that's Microsoft; they probably already have their version of that. But anyways,
yeah.
So Kayla is missing at the moment, so I guess we can move on to the Wind Waker review. Have you guys have all played it, right? Wind Waker?
Not HD.
Not HD. You don't need to play the HD version. Well, you need to, yes. It's very good.
Well, I want to, but
yeah. And then you remember a lot of the stuff in Wind Waker, Maka?
Yeah.
All right. So, are you guys ready for this?
Yes. I might pop out for just a second to ask my mom a question, but
okay. All right. Do you need to do that now? Before we get started,
yes.
We can wait? Okay.
I will be right back.
All right, we can chat with the chat while you're gone. it'll give Kayla a moment to come back as well. So everyone that's live in the chat right now, after this, we're each going to answer 1 or 2 questions, and then the podcast will be over. So get your questions ready. You can go ahead, go to our Discord server. There should be a link in the description of the live video. Once you go into the Discord server, go to the Zelda Mailbag, and you can ask your questions, or whatever question you would like to ask, and then we will try to answer as many as we can. Gotta fix my
as many as we can before I
Maka,
collapse.
you can go ahead and give us the people who want to check out your YouTube channel. Tell them all about it.
Oh yeah,
Still have your
so
videos up, don't you?
I do have my videos up, so I'll just pop a message in the chat so people can look. There's a bunch of stuff there. It's a lot of Nintendo history. But I'd also say at the moment what I'm doing isn't YouTube, it's blogging. So if you want to check that out, that would be amazing because it's just started recently and like there's not many people looking. So I don't know how I'll put a link in, but maybe we put it in the Discord or something like that, and then people go have a gander.
Yeah, when people watch the video, like the edited version, it has everyone's information and the description. So.
Oh, sweet.
Sorry, I'm simultaneously a part of the podcast and eating.
Oh no, you're fine. So everybody who J-Link just posted a link to the Discord. So if you want your question, your server link expired. Okay, I think he posted a new one. So you can join the Discord and post a link, or not a link, but post your question in the Zelda Mailbag, and then we will try to get to it. So, yeah. And then also, if you want a cool shirt like this, or the one that Kayla was wearing, Ilya has one too, you can check those out as well. There's links in the description of the video, and I think there should be some on Discord. I keep looking back because my laptop is on Discord, so like whenever I talk about Discord I keep pointing towards it, but there's no need to. I'm a silly person. I just realized she was gone. I've been cooking. Yeah, Kayla is she left. She'll be back. She just had to do something with her new house. Her someone was coming over to help her like put up her bed or something like that. But anyways, you guys ready?
The dungeon, she called it.
Yeah. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, Maka, I apologize if we're taking up too much of your time.
It's fine.
All right.
It's fine.
What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as all of you may know me. We are here with Kayla, who is currently gone, but will be joining us in just a moment. Ilya, who you all know from past podcasts and some of our theory top 10 videos that she does voiceovers for. Oh, Kayla, you're here. Everything good?
Hello. Yeah, I was just setting up my bed.
Okay, awesome. All right, so we're going to do the Wind Waker review.
All right.
Alright, so I guess I'll just redo the intro. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as all of you may know us. Kayla is here, Chiblima, who you all may know from the Discord. We have Ilya eating some delicious-looking food, and we have Maka, who you guys may know as Nintendo Box, joining the podcast for the very first time. We talked about some Smash Bros. Stuff earlier. Now we're going to be getting into our review of the Wind Waker. So, on the Hylian Gamescast, we usually have a topic of discussion. We've used top 5s or top 10s to discuss random whatever lists or whatever we want to do for the topic of discussion. But lately, we've been thinking about using it as a way to give our thoughts and reviews on games, similar to what we did with, what was the name of the game, Kayla?
Blossom Tales.
Blossom Tales, yes. A cool
Which is a very
Zelda
good game, by the way.
Yeah, so we have lots of people that send in their games and stuff to review. We don't have time to review all of them, so the codes typically just go to waste. But the podcast, having a review discussion, is a nice way to quickly give our thoughts and to review some of the games that we feel are worth reviewing. So we've done a few in the past, but today we're going to do Wind Waker HD, or just the Wind Waker, sort of a retro review. Feels weird calling it a retro game, but I guess the original is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So with the Wind Waker HD, a lot of people probably already played it. If you haven't, you should. It's one of the most beautiful games that I've ever played, art style wise. So Maka, since you are our guest, what are your, I guess the best way to do this? We all go through, we'll give what we loved the most and then what we hated the most from the Wind Waker. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. So Maka, starting with you, what did you love the most from the Wind Waker?
Love the most. It's got to be art style. The art style is fantastic. The graphics so good. I remember playing it. It is my favorite Zelda game, but I remember playing it when I was younger, so it is rose tinted glasses a little bit. And as a kid, that art style just pulled me in, and I still think it's. When I looked at HD, it's still one of the best games around somehow. So that's probably the best thing about it, in my opinion. And then negative is I cannot remember.
We'll come back around to the negative.
Oh yeah, sure.
Everyone's going to talk about what we loved and then go to the negative. In case you don't know, the reason that I do these, whenever I do reviews on games, we have actual scripted reviews like this where we the top 10 best and worst. This is a similar format. We're just discussing it instead of scripting it out, but we are going to cover the same thing that we would cover in a typical scripted video. Like the review for Breath of the Wild that we have is not only one of our most viewed videos, but I'm really happy to say this channel's review of Breath of the Wild, the top 10 best and worst of Breath of the Wild, is one of the highest viewed Breath of the Wild reviews on YouTube, which is really cool. If only I could have got that lucky with the Skyward Sword. Apparently people just hate Skyward Sword because that video got a lot of hate. And it wasn't people like disliking the video, it was just people hating on the actual game itself. But anyways, so we aren't biased because a channel dedicated to Zelda reviewing a Zelda game, you could call us a bit biased. So to make it fair, we're going to list off what we love and what we hate about the game, instead of just not mentioning any of the hate stuff. So, Kayla, going to you. What was your favorite part of the Wind Waker?
All right. So, I haven't actually played Wind because I am waiting to actually meet up with Daniel in person so I can borrow it from him because I never bought it.
Wait, so you haven't played the original either?
From actual... No, I played the original.
Okay.
I just haven't played HD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me either.
Good. Yeah, so... Honestly, for Wind Waker, like, I really liked the soundtrack. The soundtrack I play all the time, just in the background, and whenever it comes on, just like randomly in a playlist, it's like full jam. I start going like...
Thank you, Nintendo Prime, for the $1.99. What
Aww,
is that?
thanks,
Yay!
Nintendo Prime.
Yeah.
Yes, dude.
For those who don't know, Nintendo Prime, they have a similar YouTube channel to mine. He used to run Zelda Informer before Zelda Dungeon purchased it. And after he left Zelda Informer, he started Nintendo Prime, and go watch his stuff on there. Because that's how I met Daniel, the person who Ilya is replacing tonight, through Nintendo Prime. Nate. We met up with him at E3. He was really cool. First time I met him in person. So thank you, Nate. You're a very beautiful, sexy man. I wish I could buy you a milkshake sometime.
Aw, yes, thank you, Nate.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
But yeah, definitely my highlight of The Wind Waker is the soundtrack. Because that's the one thing that always gets me the most with Legend of Zelda games. It's the soundtrack.
Yes.
Was there a particular song that you liked the most from the soundtrack?
Dragon Roost Island.
It's a good song.
Alright. Moving on to you, Ilya.
Okay. So there are so many things I love about The Wind Waker. Okay. So I'm trying to pinpoint one thing. Because there's like 3 things. One of them, not as much. I was going to be like, oh, the fact that he has a little sister, because I have 2 older brothers. And for me, it was like, oh, this is my Zelda game. Anyway, I think, honestly, I cannot choose between the 2. It's a tie between the music and the graphics for very weird reasons. The music, just because it's the music and it's great. And thank you to whoever suggested on Twitter that I look at the soundtrack by Aimir Noon. That's like Celtic versions of like a bunch of Zelda music. Their Celtic version of the Wind Waker title screen is amazing. So whoever suggested that to me, you are a godsend, because that album is amazing. And I listened to it the whole drive here. But the graphics, because for anyone that doesn't know, well, everyone knows that a lot of people hated the graphics when it first came out. But it was because of those graphics that a lot of the developers' wives and female friends and family members started getting into the game playing. And that's actually part of why I started playing Zelda more, was because of the Wind Waker. I was also a little bit older. I was only 3 when Ocarina of Time came out, and it scared the shiznit out of me. But I loved it. But Wind Waker, I felt like, I can get into this. Like, yeah, it was more kiddie, whatever. But I could get into it, and I feel like that started opening doors for a lot more women getting involved with the games. Just because it was almost like, not that it's a girlier graphic, but it seemed friendlier. So as a young me, I could get into it more. And like I said, a lot of the developers' wives and such got into it. So sorry if I keep like panting. My mom put buffalo sauce on my chicken, which I asked her to do. But I'm like, this is how white I am. I can't handle a tiny bit of buffalo sauce.
Ilya, we have a donation. Can you give a shout out?
Huh?
During your
Yeah.
Steven, no, it's not 7. Steven, I can't.
No, it is 7.
Speak.
7 moments.
It is 7.
moments.
Yeah.
Thank you. You gave a $5 donation.
Yeah.
That could buy a lot of things.
Great work, guys.
I could buy
Love the
a
channel.
milkshake.
it can buy a milkshake.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you
Thank
guys
you,
are being
dude.
awesome. We had a few new Patreon supporters between yesterday and today, and now during the live stream, you guys are donating, being very, very nice. So thank you for that. Anyone else who donates, as soon as we see it, we will try to give you a shout out for it and read whatever it is that you have. It might be a good way to have your question being read, hint, hint, later on. Because we do have a few from the Patreon supporters this time. So, Ilya, would you like to finish what you were saying?
I mean, that was pretty much it. Me going crazy about the music and the fact that, for me as a kid, that also got, like, women more involved with games.
All right.
Not because it's less cool Zelda, but it was different, and we liked it.
Yeah.
And also, one of my favorites is Twilight Princess, so
Twilight Princess.
I like dark stuff, too.
All right.
Yep.
I will say what I loved the most about the Wind Waker was that it was the first time that I can think of in a Zelda game that put a huge focus on one of the previous versions of the hero. So like after Wind Waker, like Twilight Princess came out. Twilight Princess put a huge focus, like it was essentially like a newer version of Ocarina of Time, because like you go to the forest temple, the fire temple, the water temple, something big happens, You get the Master Sword or whatever. Ganondorf, same bad guy or whatever. So like Twilight Princess, a lot of people look at it as like you start the game out being raised in like a forested area. So a lot of people look at the similarities and stuff. But anyways, Twilight Princess had a huge focus on the hero of time, Link. He's actually in the game as Link's like great whatever grandfather. He's also the hero's shade. Skyward Sword couldn't really put a focus on like heroes before that because it was the first in the timeline or whatever. But Wind Waker was the first time that we've seen like an importance put upon the hero that came before. There was the statue of the hero of time. Like the game begins telling you that like it retells the events of Ocarina of Time and the Flood, and it's tradition to pass down like the green tunic to boys whenever they turn a certain age and everything. So I like that. Like it just basically ties it in with the story and everything. So that's really what I like, is that whenever a game rewards people for playing whatever the game was that came before it. Even though the story, you could play Wind Waker as your first Zelda game, but if you played Ocarina of Time before it, then it adds a lot more depth to the story. You actually get the references and everything. Wind Waker being the first time that I can think of that was really, really cool.
That's cool.
So, moving on to what we dislike.
Also, our good friend Maka said that he has to leave in about 10 to 15 minutes.
I do.
Yeah, so maybe we can get through this review in the next 5 minutes or so. So, because now we're just going through listing off the bad stuff. So, what did you dislike the most about the Wind Waker?
That one quest at the end, can't remember its name. The one where you have to collect
the Triforce chart.
The Triforce, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that is just padding, and it's such a pain. Like, I was so glad that they condensed that a bit in HD.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about that is that whenever they were remaking the game, they said that was one of the things that they disliked the most about the game as well. Originally, I think they were supposed to be like, because towards the end of development, the game was kind of rushed, which is why they took out like 2 or 3 of the dungeons. And I think some of the dungeons that they took out was supposed to be a part of that. So it would be like you would find some of the pieces or whatever, and then there would be a dungeon, and then you would find a few more of the pieces or something like that. So if it would have been the way that it originally would have, then it would have flowed the same as the rest of it. But because they took out the main parts of the game that were supposed to be at that point of the game, it just feels like you're doing a bunch of useless stuff, whereas before it would have actually felt a part of the game. So it kind of shows the like the what can happen when a game is rushed or whatever, which is why Miyamoto has like the famous quote that like I forgot exactly what it was, but it's like a delayed game can be good, but a rushed game something. I don't know. Anyways, going to you, Ilya.
No, I know what you're talking about. It.
Yeah.
My
mind is going like 1,000 miles per hour right now.
Well, I knew what quote you were talking about.
Yeah.
My least favorite thing in the Wind Waker, as much as I love these 2 characters, it's the escort missions through dungeons. I love Makar, and I love Medley.
When we had the same thing about what we liked and disliked about the Zelda series as a whole, wasn't this your thing?
I said escort missions.
Yeah.
Even though I, for some reason, totally forgot about the one in Breath of the Wild. I was like, for some reason that didn't bother me, I guess. Whatever. But as much as I love Medley and I love Makar, I have a little plushie of Makar in my room at home, and he's so freaking adorable. I just don't like having to carry this character and then bring them somewhere else, make sure they get to the right spot, make sure the shield shines correctly and that she's in the right spot and that his tree thing grows and oh crap, he got taken away, so now I have to go find him again. It slows me down and it makes me... The worst is the one in Ocarina of Time, but if there's something I dislike about Wind Waker, it's the 2 escort missions. But the characters themselves are beautiful characters.
All right, Kayla, what did you dislike the most?
Mine is definitely the sailing, but I have heard that it got fixed in the HD remake.
Mm-hmm.
A lot faster.
Yeah, but I was gonna say it's just like the entirety of like having to find the Triforce pieces and then find all the charts. And I remember like the last time I actually played through Wind Waker, like I got to that part and I was collecting the charts and the Triforces, and then I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to beat it this time through. And I was actually just looking. I borrowed like the original copy for Gamecube off of a friend, so maybe I'll like go back and actually try to play it, or maybe I will wait until Daniel gives me his HD.
Yeah. The cool thing about the Wind Waker, a bit off topic, it was the only like custom version of the Wii U that they had. Was like the Wind Waker HD version of the console. But Gus in the chat donated $9.90 and
oh my gosh!
Ruples, I think.
Thank you.
I don't know if that's
Thank you.
Yeah. That's really awesome. Like I always watch the streams that people do whenever like Nintendo Prime has it really cool. Oh, you deleted it.
Oh no! How do I undelete it? Oh no!
Oh, you messed
Guys,
up.
I'm so sorry.
All right,
Wait,
so
can I undelete it? No.
It won't let me undelete it.
she did not mean to do that, Gus.
Gus, you know you're one of my favorites. I feel so bad.
Yeah.
Oh.
I forgot what I was saying.
The only
now.
thing I can do now is put you in a timeout.
So with I was saying like Nintendo Prime doing his live streams, I'll see him always like he'll have a thing to where like he'll take a shot if someone donates or whatever, and like a lot of people do that, and I never on my streams like I never prompt people or ask them to donate, and oftentimes whenever they ask or whenever they say like, hey, I'm going to become a Patreon supporter, I'm like, no, please don't. Like Netflix is like $10 and it's 10 times better than what I could offer. Or like instead of donating $5, go buy yourself a milkshake or something. But whenever people still donate or become a Patreon supporter, it's very awesome. So thank you. But Kayla, you said that the selling, right?
Yes.
So what they did on the new Wind Waker HD is they made it so that when you use the quick sell or the swift sell, which was also originally supposed to be in the original game, they had 3 cells. One was like the Zora cell, one was named something else I forgot, and then there was the normal cell. But they scrapped the other 2. But with Wind Waker HD, they kind of combined them because one was supposed to let you control the wind without having to use the Wind Waker, and the other was supposed to let you go faster. So with Wind Waker HD, they kind of combined them into the Swift cell so that you don't need to play the song. It goes whichever direction you're going. It just automatically points forward, and then it doubles your speed. So it's really, really cool. And then the thing that I disliked the most about the Wind Waker was the shortness of it. I think it has like 6 dungeons total, where like it came after Ocarina of Time, which had like 10 or 11 dungeons if you count like the mini dungeons or whatever, like Ganon's Castle if you count that as a dungeon.
The ice cavern.
Yeah, the ice cavern, the bottom of the well and stuff, and then you can count the Spirit Temple as like 2 dungeons. Anyways, and then Twilight Princess had the most dungeons from any Zelda game, and between that you had the Wind Waker. I know I'm leaving out Majora's Mask, but the entire purpose of that game was to rush a Zelda game. But between those two huge games was the Wind Waker, which had like I think like 6 main dungeons. I'm not really sure. So like to me it just felt too short because it has like the largest or one of the largest versions of Hyrule that we've seen, but then the game goes by really quick. So like a lot of people make the debate on if it would have had all of the cut content from it, then like there was another half of the game that could have been there. So it wasn't originally supposed to be that short, but because it was, that's one of the things that I don't like about it, which is like the game is so good, the worst thing about it is that it ends, is basically what I'm trying to say, which is a cop-out. But anyways, Maka. You there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The webcam's going a bit
Sorry,
slow.
I was just reading chat. I was in chat.
Oh, I thought you were frozen. You were just like...
No,
So
I'm
chill.
just so tired.
There's
intently watching chat.
a lot of great people in the chat today donating and stuff, so thank you guys. But Maka, since you have to leave after this, we're just going to have the Zelda Mailbag. I think we're just going to answer like 1 or 2 questions each, and then we're going. But thank you for joining.
No problem.
For the people that want to follow you on Twitter to get more from you, where can they follow you? What do they type in to go and look at your sexy tweets?
Ooh, well, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it is NBMaca. So that's NB as in Nintendo Box, and then MACA. And then from there you can find my blog and stuff. And watch me tweet about everything.
What made you,
Everything.
if you don't mind me asking, what made you like step away from the world of YouTube?
The world of YouTube. I think it was kind of going to uni, and I had like my big PC, and I didn't want to have to lug that to uni and then back. So I kind of like I left it for a bit, and then I've just never. I don't know. I've never got back to it properly. But then I'm doing this blogging at the moment, and it's like right into my passion. So that just kind of works for me now. But I love being on other people's videos. So
Yeah. What's the?
Thank you for having me.
Do you remember
Me
how
too.
we met each other? Was it because of McIntyre, or old McIntyre?
It was, yeah. It was through McIntyre. Yeah, it was through Andy.
McIntyre Productions was a great channel.
Yeah.
So with
McIntyre.
what is the blog or the website that people could check out your writing?
Yeah, I'll pop a link in the chat, but it's also Nintendo Box. Because I love that name. Like I'm still in love with that name. I was happy when I got it for YouTube, so I was like, I'm gonna use that again for my blog.
Yeah, didn't you at one point
yeah, so
you changed it to like from Nintendo Box to like Gaming Box or something like that?
Yeah, I was going to do some like non-Nintendo videos. So I think this was when there was a huge drought on Wii U, and I was like disillusioned. So it got changed to VG Box, but now it's back to Nintendo Box.
Yeah, reminds me of the Cinemassacre or the Angry Video Game Nerd. Whenever he first started, it was the Angry Nintendo Nerd, and now it's the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Right.
Yeah.
Man.
And then in his theme song, he even has the part where it's like, he's the Angry Nintendo Nerd, he's the Angry Nintendo, PlayStation, Atari, and then he like names off all the other consoles really fast. But anyways, Maka, thank you, everybody. Put in your questions. We're going to answer your questions.
Brilliant.
Thank you for joining
Thank you
us.
very
It was nice meeting you.
Bye, Maka.
Yeah, lovely meeting you, and thanks for having me, guys. Cheers for having me, Jesse.
Yes, thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
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 All right.
And then it was
Finally,
3.
he's gone.
I was literally gonna say that. I was gonna go, and then there were 3.
All right, so let me mark the time here.
A needle pulling thread. I didn't say it in time. For anyone that caught that.
A needle pulling a thread. What?
So, a needle pulling thread.
Oh, okay. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to have
Should pull up the questions.
Kayla, since I imagine you have the questions pulled up.
I do.
Okay, so I'm going to do the introduction. You're going to pick the first question. In that time that you're asking the first question, I'm going to update with the Patreon questions.
Okay, sweet.
Okay.
And then Illy and I can get our question from there, and then once we answer those, then we're out. So, alright. Are you guys ready?
Yeah,
See.
let's do this.
What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as you all may know me. We just had Nintendo Box Maka on, one of my old friends and one of my favorite YouTube channels. Man, I messed up. Sorry. I went to say Daniel, but Daniel's not on here. Yeah. What's up, What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as all of you may know me. This is the Zelda Mailbag for the Hylian Gamescast. We just had our good friend Maka, who you all may know as Nintendo Box, for the podcast. Daniel is not here with us, sadly, but we do have our other two co-hosts, Kayla and Ilya. So this is the Zelda Mailbag, where if you are a Patreon supporter, then you can have your question guaranteed to be featured on the show and even have the video named after your question, as well as shout-outs and a bunch of other stuff. So our first question comes from... Who does it come from, Kayla?
I will ask the first question. So, our first question comes from Bootleg Boy Advance SP.
Who is a Patreon supporter.
He is a Patreon supporter, so look at me picking Patreon supporter questions. So he asks, or they ask, not sure if asked before, but should a Zelda game take place in the future? Epona is a BMW, the Hyrule Castle is a huge skyscraper, etc. Imagine all of the possibilities. So this, I think, is really interesting, because if you think about like how The Legend of Zelda is, it's like nothing is really too futuristic. Everyone, they're like, you know, riding horses, we have like really old style pubs and inns, and everything just feels kind of like more of like a different kind of time era. But then you get into Breath of the Wild, and Breath of the Wild feels like they were almost in the future. Like, they were so close to being there, and then something happened. It's just like, what happened to the future? We just went back in time somehow. Thanks, Ganon. And so, like, that's the way I see it. I see the way that Breath of the Wild was going. I feel like it was going to, like, a more futuristic type Zelda game. So, I feel like this question might almost be like maybe like a more modern type of Zelda kind of area, because it's like, I'm sure that Link wasn't like, man, 20 years from now there's probably going to be flying cars, and then they invented a microwave instead.
Yeah. Well, the really interesting thing is that the first Zelda game was supposed to be futuristic.
Yep.
Instead of Triforce pieces. How crazy would this be for like the entire history of Zelda? Instead of Triforce pieces, it was originally supposed to be computer chips. And those computer chips would somehow be tied into the time travel and stuff. They eventually did do time travel with like Ocarina of Time was heavily based off time travel. A lot of the Zelda games have time travel in it. But originally it was going to be computer chips, not Triforce pieces, which I don't know if Miyamoto knows how computer chips work, but they don't allow you to make wishes and stuff. So
can we connect our computer chips into a Triforce shape?
Yeah. So I think that's really interesting. But then another thing that you were saying is like, well, I guess you weren't saying this exactly, but like with Breath of the Wild taking place 10,000 years in the future, if you go back like just 5,000 years or whatever, like people were like building, I don't exactly know how many years ago, but like when ancient Egyptians were like building pyramids and stuff. And like, let's say that's like 5,000 years ago. So and then we went from like that time to like being on the moon or whatever and building ships and stuff where people are like on the space station and everything. And that's like 5,000 years. So if you look at where could we be in another 5,000 years? Like you would imagine we would be on Mars and stuff. So in Breath of the Wild, it's like, you know, it takes place twice as far in the future as like from pyramids to being on the moon. So realistically, Hyrule in Breath of the Wild should be taking place on like Jupiter or something.
Yeah.
Or like some space station. Like it technically, like if you look like how far we advance within 5,000 years or just a few thousand years, then how much further could a place advance with twice that time? So Breath of the Wild for me, like that's the one thing that I didn't like about the 10,000 years in the future from Breath of the Wild is when you look at like Ocarina of Time to Twilight Princess, it's not that much more advanced because it's just a few hundred years, so that makes sense. But for like Breath of the Wild, and it says 10,000 years, then it's like every time they're like on the brink of some major discovery, it's like Ganon comes back and destroys everything. But now apparently Ganon's not supposed to be coming back, so maybe they will age like a normal world. But Ilya, what are your thoughts? Time travel? Or not time travel? Future Zelda. Future man.
Future Zelda.
Future.
This is a weird topic because, like, of course, when I think of Zelda, I think like, oh, it's very medieval Renaissance-esque, but at the same time, there's like all of this magic, and there is futuristic technology, like with the Sheikah, especially in Breath of the Wild. So I'm like, is Zelda really set in the past, or is that just this world and the people are just far more content with not advancing technology because they don't feel like they need it? I guess. I don't know. I personally wouldn't want it to take place in a world that's too similar like our world now. But that's just a personal preference. Am I saying I wouldn't play a game if I saw a trailer for Zelda and all of a sudden Hyrule Castle was a skyscraper? No, I would still play it. It's Zelda, and I'm going to give it a shot, you know? Because, I mean, the developers, you know, they've done things that I've been like, what are you doing? I almost didn't play Breath of the Wild. So I've been proven wrong many a time. I'm sure all of us fans have. We're like, wait, this game was actually amazing. But just a personal preference, I don't like the idea of it being more similar to our world, if that makes any sense. Because they're like their own anomaly. Because they're like medieval Renaissance, but they're also not. Because they have all this other stuff. They're their own thing.
One more thing. Like, the way that I view the way that this question is put, it's like watching the old Romeo and Juliet and then watching the remake of Romeo and Juliet. Like, that's how I would see it. Like, them being in gangs with guns and driving cars.
Oh my gosh. No, I see what you're saying. I've watched many movies. Like, what's it called? Oh, the one with Amanda Bynes in it that's based off of Twelfth Night by Shakespeare. Oh, I wish I could remember what it...
I don't remember.
She's the Man.
Oh, yeah.
So funny. And because I choreographed a dance for the end scene of Twelfth Night when I first watched it. I was late. So, yeah.
All right.
Shrug life.
So did you guys see the update that I did on Discord? In the
Discord, or do you mean the chat?
The chat. Okay, so someone tagged me on Twitter with an interview about Breath of the Wild and the official timeline, and it's too important to wait until next week. So since we're already recording,
I agree.
We're going to do that. So breaking news, everybody. We're going to do a quick news story, and then we're going to go back to the mailbag. Okay, so you guys ready?
See.
All right.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as all of you may know me. Here with us is Ilya and Kayla, our Hylian Gamescast hosts. So while we were in the middle of recording our Zelda Mailbag, where we answer questions sent in from fans like yourself, I was tagged on Twitter from a very awesome fan known as Super Metal Dave 64, who a lot of you may know. And he tagged me in a post saying that I'll have to make an update video sometime talking about the Breath of the Wild timeline, because apparently Fujibayashi and Aonuma confirmed, sort of, where Breath of the Wild takes place on the official Zelda timeline. This isn't speculation. This isn't a theory, which we recently did a very awesome theory about where it takes place on the timeline. This kind of confirms that, I guess, on where we ended up putting it. So this comes from Silicon Era, and they say The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has been added to the series' official timeline. A new version of the Legend of Zelda series timeline is now available on the Japanese Zelda series portal. It places The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at the very end, but not connected to any of the 3 timelines. Instead, the game is separated, but still at the very end. Famitsu asked series producer Eiji Aonuma and Breath of the Wild director Fujibayashi what the changes meant, and this was their reply. Aonuma, series producer, is quoted saying, "Well, of course, it's at the very end, but I get what you're asking. It's which timeline is it at the end of?" Fujibayashi says, "That's ... up to the player's imagination, isn't it?" Aonuma, "Hyrule's history changes with time. When we think of the next game and what we want to do with it, we might think, oh, this'll fit well, and place it neatly into the timeline. But sometimes we think, oh crap, and have to change the placement. Actually, the decided history has been tweaked many times," laughs. Fujibayashi, "Lately within the company, a term called new translation has been cropped up. Strictly speaking, we don't change it, but rather new information and truths come to light." Famitsu says, "I see. So the way to interpret the lore of Breath of the Wild is still up for academic debate," laughs. Fujibayashi answered, "That's why you should pay attention to future studies as well. Please look forward to it," laughs. As an aside, another change in timeline positioning was made in the Fallen Hero timeline. Link's Awakening now officially takes place before the Oracle games, rather than afterwards, shutting down the theory that Link from A Link to the Past died at sea. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is now available for Switch, blah, blah, blah. So the thing here, for the people that was debating Breath of the Wild, because there, for some reason, were people... like, they would give you death threats if you said that Breath of the Wild took place after Skyward Sword, because they were determined that Breath of the Wild was the very first game of the timeline, even though Aonuma said that it wasn't, even though all evidence suggests that it's not. Some people thought it was a direct sequel to The Wind Waker. Going on interviews with Aonuma and Fujibayashi, Miyamoto, and other people before, the only thing that they've said about Breath of the Wild, where it takes place in the timeline, is that the story has no direct connection to The Wind Waker, because people asked, well, this game has Koroks, this game has the Great Deku Tree. Does it take place after The Wind Waker? And they said that they used those assets because they had previously worked on Wind Waker HD, and it just made it easier to develop the game. Instead of making like 50 different Korok or Kokiri, they could just reuse all of the different Korok skins. Because before they had Koroks, the game was supposed to have Kokiri. There was even supposed to be a Kokiri champion as one of the 4 champions, or maybe at that point it would have been 5 champions. They even replaced the... instead of finding Koroks everywhere, you would have found fake Master Sword pedestals, similar to the Lost Woods in A Link to the Past, which was really weird. But another thing that Aonuma said about Breath of the Wild's timeline placement is that it takes place... he confirmed that it did take place after Ocarina of Time and during a point when Hyrule has had many wars with Ganon. So with this, it has... the image shows all of, like, basically just the timeline, and then not connected to any of them is Breath of the Wild at the very end, which I think is a way for them, instead of having it like in after Twilight Princess or after Zelda 2 or after Spirit Tracks. Like, I think this points to more than ever more confirmation on it taking place in like a converged timeline instead of it being like directly connected to one of them, which we have a theory on that's been doing very, very well. about how it takes place and what happened to cause that. And the information that we use in that video is information provided from the games and interviews with Miyamoto and Aonuma, not fan theories or speculation and stuff like we actually use information, which I was always a fan of it being placed after Twilight Princess. But when I was writing the video, trying to kind of prove that it took place after Twilight Princess, I ended up convincing myself that it had to be a convergence, which Aonuma, the director of the Zelda series or producer of the Zelda series, confirmed that those have happened before where timelines combined in the Zelda series. Another big thing is the term Dragon Break, which is what people use for whenever a timeline splits and comes back together, happened in the Elder Scrolls series where Skyrim. So with Breath of the Wild, Aonuma said that he looked at Skyrim in the Elder Scrolls series as an influence on Breath of the Wild. And a lot of people assumed maybe he just meant the open world aspect of Skyrim and Breath of the Wild. But Skyrim takes place a long time after the previous game. And in the previous game, all of the timelines connected. And the same thing happens with Breath of the Wild, where Breath of the Wild takes place a really long time after any of the other previous games. So what if he took the idea of the convergence or the Dragon Break from the Elder Scrolls series and not just the open world aspect? I don't know, random thought. But what do you guys think about this before we move on to the Zelda mailbag again? Because we only have like 2 questions left in the mailbag. So quickly, your guys' thoughts on this.
I just want to point out quickly that it was actually Tevi and J-Link that were like, "Oh my god, Jesse, look at this thing that was just posted."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's in promos, and they're freaking out about it in the YouTube chat.
All right.
Yeah, which I thought you saw, but this is awesome. This is 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
For the people that say that, no, the game takes place in the Downfall timeline, or no, the game takes place in the adult timeline, no, it takes place in the child timeline, like, it doesn't take place in any of those individual timelines. Like, it takes place after all of them.
I want to give everyone an idea of what type of person Jesse is. What you just saw, the way that he interrupted everything and like did a new intro and just started talking for like 10 minutes straight, that was excited Jesse. I haven't seen Jesse that excited in a really long time. Because he is such a laid back person. He's just like, oh, yeah. And even when he's like super excited, he's like still pretty quiet. But that time he just like popped right off. He was like, what?
Yeah.
I think this is just great because we just made the video on this. Like, you wrote it, and then I had the privilege of voicing a couple things. Like, you know, and I had no idea, honestly, for a while. I had my thoughts about where it was, and then when Daniel went through the Dragon Break idea, and then after I got to read the script for the third video, I was like, oh, it makes sense. And then hearing this from Aonuma and Fubayashi, I can't pronounce his name, it's like, they're not, like, confirming it, but they basically are.
Yeah. Like,
they're like, it's where you want it to be, and look here.
Yeah, the thing is, like, because there's the other popular theory, because it's MatPat, but I don't really like MatPat or the game theorists, because they popularized the stupid Link is dead theory, even though Nintendo confirmed it, like, themselves said it wasn't true. But anyways, they had a theory. They have a couple of theories on where they thought Breath of the Wild took place, but the newest one they had, which a lot of people commented on the new videos, like, oh, well, this isn't true because MatPat said that it takes place in the Downfall timeline. And I'm like, don't be stupid,
He's
guys.
not the be-all, end-all of the Zelda lore.
Yeah, and then, like, even for other people who say that it has to take place after Twilight Princess, or it has to take place after Wind Waker, Aonuma coming out and saying that it doesn't take place in any of the 3 individual timelines, They could have even said, no, this is a brand new game in its own timeline, in its own thing. You know, like it takes place outside of the timeline. That could have even been like a cop-out answer he could have gave, but he puts it at the end of all of the timelines. So, yeah, I think like this is him in a way confirming. And the fact that he said that they took a lot of influence from Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls series, which has all of the timelines merging, for Breath of the Wild, means that they probably took that idea from the series as well. And it's like, oh, well, they did that as an excuse to use all of these different things that otherwise wouldn't have existed. So maybe Miyamoto and Aonuma looked at the Elder Scrolls series and was like, oh, that was a genius way to use things from all the different series. So anyways, yeah, back to you guys. Any final thoughts on this?
It just makes me happy.
Yeah,
Nice.
I think it's really cool and really exciting to see that, and I can't wait until it's like properly translated so we can actually read more about everything. Because the links on the video that I saw, it was like one of the pages can't be translated, and then the other one is just kind of like a brief overview. So
Yeah.
give me a translation.
Just like the
Also,
thing...
Daniel's gonna be so annoyed that he missed this.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Because like the thing with like the theory of it being a dragon break, whenever Daniel, and this is the thing with when people are debating about theories and stuff, like I said earlier, like there's been people that give other people death threats because they disagreed on a theory.
Yeah.
There's like annoying people that can't let that go. But with Daniel, he was a fan from the beginning of Breath of the Wild taking place in a dragon break or a converged timeline. At first, I was a fan of the idea that it took place after or before A Link to the Past. After Ocarina of Time, but before A Link to the Past. So we, like, at the very beginning of the Downfall timeline. But that was like when we only had like the first trailer or whatever, because this Link was a Link that was being revived when Ganon had taken over and everything. And the only time that Ganon wins and takes over is in the Downfall timeline, which was created right before Breath of the Wild came out. Was when they created the Downfall timeline. So I was thinking maybe they created it to use for this game, to be at the beginning of it, and the only time that we've had a Link that needed to be revived was when Link, quote, died at the end of Ocarina of Time. So it made perfect sense to me for it to be in the Downfall timeline. But then after playing the game, I was like, no, this points to Twilight Princess, not the Downfall timeline. And then after Twilight Princess, or not after Twilight Princess, but after I started working on the theory a few weeks ago, I was like, there's too much evidence suggesting that it's all of the timelines, and it makes sense, like, for who could combine the timelines? The Goddess of Time. So, yeah. Kind of a cop-out, though, on, like, how it gets combined. So, anyways, that was just my thoughts. Is like, if anyone...
works.
Yeah, like, if anyone had the power to merge the timelines, it would be the person who is literally the god of time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who we hear about in Majora's Mask.
Yeah. So, yeah, back to the Zelda mailbag. Illy, you had your question. So our next...
Do I?
No, no, Kayla had the question, sorry. You were the one answering whenever we switched.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we were kind of done talking about...
I think
about
we
the-
were.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, we were pretty done talking about mine, so we just need to switch on to a different
Alright,
question.
so Ilya, the bottom 3 questions are all from
the
Patreon
end?
supporters.
Okay.
Those come
Cool,
directly
cool,
from
cool.
Patreon as well.
Okay. I need to read through them. So if you've already picked one, you can take one because I'm looking at them now.
Alright, I guess I'll go.
Yeah, I haven't picked
just
one.
picking the first one. David,
Okay.
our lovely, beautiful Patreon supporter, who I think is one of the people that joined overnight, says, do you think it would be interesting in a future Zelda game if Link was King of Hyrule? And do you think any previous Link has been king? So I think the only one that could have possibly been king would be Link from Skyward Sword. Because we know Zelda at that point, she wasn't a princess, but when they founded Hyrule, since everybody knew her to be the goddess of Hyrule, she had to have been, looked at as the princess or the queen or whatever. So her and Link were the closest to having a relationship than any of the other Zelda games. And well, never mind. I was going to say it's possible maybe Tetra and Link from Wind Waker could have gone on to have a relationship, but I think Spirit Tracks proves against that, maybe? I don't know. Anyways, Skyward Sword Link, I think, would be the closest that could have possibly been a king, since he was the one who basically saved Hyrule. He and Zelda together founded Hyrule, and then everyone already looked at Zelda's father, Gaepora, as the leader of Skyloft. He was like the headmaster, the principal, or whatever. So I think that would have continued to where he would have been the king of Hyrule, and then maybe Zelda be Princess Zelda, and then when they got married, then it would have carried over, and she would have been queen, and then Link may have been king. Yeah, so that's just my thoughts. I think it would be an interesting dynamic if they did have Link as the king of Hyrule in a future game. Yeah. What about you, Hylia?
I definitely agree with the second part about if any previous Link has been king. That would make sense, the Skyward Sword. As far as there being a Link that's king of Hyrule, like, during a game, I don't see that happening in-game. Unless Link and Zelda get together in the middle of the game, like in Skyward Sword. Just because, if already king in the game thinking this way, then, I guess Zelda would be his daughter? I don't know, because Zelda's usually of the bloodline, and Zelda's usually in every game. So I don't know. I just feel like it would be weird. I feel like the only way that could work is if Link and Zelda got together and Zelda was already of the bloodline, because
and he just kind of marries in.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want it in game. I this is just me being biased and going with nostalgia, but I would want Link always to be either child or young adult, not adult, old man. I mean, I know there are old men that were possibly Links at points, they had the spirit of the hero at some point, but they're not the playable character.
Yeah, Link from A Link to the Past is an old man in A Link Between Worlds.
Right.
But he's not the playable character.
Right. I wouldn't want him to be the playable character. I just think it would be weird.
He would have a cane. So, anyways, continue.
Yeah,
sorry.
That's my thought on that, honestly. I wouldn't want to be in game for those reasons that I mentioned.
She wants Link to be Zelda's twin brother.
I have a video about this, and so many people commented on my Amino saying, yeah, I totally think they're twins, and I commented back, did y'all watch the video? Because they were like, I agree, I think they are siblings, and I'm like, I don't think you watched the video. Because the whole point was that I debunked it.
Alright, Kayla, your thoughts? For the Game
Personally,
Over Babes cast. We're gonna get those comments again.
I personally wouldn't want to see Link as a king. I think that would be very, very weird, because sometimes a lot of what Link does is for a king. They're like, Link, help us. We're in danger and I'm a king. And so what happens if Link is the king? Does Link see that there's trouble and goes out on a quest to go save it? The king himself goes out into the world with his trusty master sword? I just... I feel like that would be an interesting concept, but I don't know if they could pull it off properly, and if they did try to do that, they'd probably have to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. But yeah. Please don't make him a king.
Yeah. All right. Illy, do you want to take the next question?
Yes.
The bottom
Okay.
2.
Yes. So, Jonathan, there's no H, so I think it's Jonathan Guluarte. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm so sorry I butchered your name.
A new amazing Patreon supporter.
Yay, Patreon. Especially the new people, but also the old people because they're faithful.
Yeah.
So they ask, what would be the Zelda entry you would produce if, hypothetically, you were handed the directorial position? Nothing is off the table. Mainline, spin-off, 2D, 3D, tune, realistic. Basically, what would you, question for everybody, do if Nintendo asked you to direct a Zelda game? Now, I misread this at first and I thought you were saying if you could direct the movie, which I'm like, well, my answer is I would say no and throw it in the garbage.
You have a
leave it as a
video
game.
about that, don't you?
My very first video.
Yeah.
Want to look at my YouTube.
Go watch that, everybody.
I need to make like an update in a year because I have so many more thoughts on that since then.
Tied in with that, when I was writing for Zelda Dungeon, it was my most popular article that I wrote, and it was the second most popular article of all time on the website, and it was talking about if Zelda should be made into an anime. So it's a very popular topic that people like, is like Zelda being in a movie or an anime or a cartoon, TV show, whatever. So go watch Ilya's video talking about it. It's our very, very first.
It's my very first video. I only have a few videos because I only post every other Wednesday, so sorry.
Quality over
but then I reread the question and I was like, oh, you're talking about a game. If I could direct a game, I would want it to be 3D because no offense to the 2D games, but they're not my favorites. I will play them, but I prefer the 3D games. But I do love A Link Between Worlds because it's like somewhere in between. I'd want it to be 3D. I don't know what I would do with it. I like the idea of there being. I love the story of Wind Waker where he has like a sibling, and that kind of amps up his priority of why he has to go out. I don't know. Maybe he would have family, but like siblings or something. I don't know. I don't know what I would do with it, but it would be 3D, and it would have killer music, which would be easy because you just hire Koji Kondo. Not that difficult.
Yeah, I would have it before Breath of the Wild came out. I think everybody wants a continuation on the Breath of the Wild story, especially since it ends on kind of a cliffhanger. But putting that aside, because I think that's almost everybody's answer, I like the idea of, since Twilight Princess was basically a reimagining of Ocarina of Time, like there was even an interview where Aonuma said that in Twilight Princess they ended up doing a lot of the stuff that they wished they could have done in Ocarina of Time. So since the games are so similar, what I would do is at the end of Ocarina of Time, Link's friend leaves him and Link discovers a new land trying to find his old friend. So I would have Twilight Princess do the same thing. Instead of Navi leaving him, Midna leaves him. And he goes on a quest or an adventure to try to find her, or a new way to get into her land, the Twilight Realm. And I would have the same thing happening to where he ends up in Termina. And then you get to see Termina, like a few 100 years or 100 years, however long it is, after the events of Ocarina of Time. So then you have everyone there being like, oh, my grandfather told me a story of a young boy who looked just like you that came and saved our land. And then, like, you get to experience, Hyrule throughout thousands of years. So what does Termina look like when they're not worrying about the moon falling or anything like that? What does Termina look like? How did the people remember Link? We've seen Hyrule like 10 times bigger than it was in Twilight Princess than it was on the Nintendo 64. So what does Termina look like when it's scaled up to the size of Hyrule from Twilight Princess? Similarly to how Hyrule was scaled up from the N64 to the GameCube. What does Termina look like when it's scaled from the N64 to the GameCube? It would be the first time having an adult Link in Termina. Maybe you end like finding the key to go to the Twilight Realm somewhere in Termina. Who knows? That's just my thoughts. I would like to see that, because then you get a pseudo sequel to Majora's Mask. Like, everybody wants the return to Termina, like Majora's Mask 2 or whatever, or Ocarina of Time 3, whatever you would like to call it. Everybody wants that. A lot of people want a sequel to Twilight Princess, so this gives you both. So.
As long as there is some character, some NPC that is the descendant of Andrew and Cafe.
Oh, yes.
Somewhere in there.
There's a side quest where a little kid comes up to you and says that you saved their grandparents' wedding.
What?
Yeah.
Be like, Andrew and Cafe.
Yeah. Alright. So what about you, Kayla? Gosh.
Wow, I didn't realize you hated me so much.
No.
This is kind of a hard question. Honestly, like, for me, what I think I would really like is maybe, like, not just one game, but maybe, like, 2 games, where, like, I would love it if I were playing a Legend of Zelda game, and it was just, like, cliffhanger, like, just straight cliffhanger, like, leaves me in absolute shock, and then I have to wait, like, a year or 2 in order for them to actually release a second game. That's what I want. I want to be sad. I want Nintendo to hurt me.
The pain is good.
I want them to make me cry over Legend of Zelda, not just because I love the music.
It's called Zelda Wii U being delayed 5 times.
Ugh. But yeah, it's like probably definitely like a darker tone, something like kind of more like Twilight Princessy. But other than that, like, I don't know.
All right.
I would just direct something super emo. Also, I want to make use of a lot of the concept art monsters that we were talking about.
Ooh.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought Amanda, I seen her pop in the chat because I made her a mod because now she's the Patreon supporter.
She was here a while ago.
I thought she left a question because she's a new Patreon supporter, but I don't know. Anyways, you can take the last of this, and if she has a question in the Discord, if you're watching and you have a question, put it in the Discord, Amanda, and then we'll answer that as the final question. But anyways, if you don't have that, this is our last question from Kayla.
From me?
Well, you know what I mean.
So, our last question, excuse me as I get comfortable. So our next question comes from Derek Grant, who is also a new Patreon supporter. I've seen you kind of floating around in chat. Hello. He asks, if Nintendo were to remake Skyward Sword for Switch, what changes, if any, would you like them to make?
We actually have a couple of videos talking about this.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah, so to recap, I think we said that we would like to see it get the Twilight Princess treatment and the Wind Waker treatment. So in Wind Waker, they went through and updated the graphics, the textures, everything. They shortened some of the quests, made stuff easier. Like the Triforce quest they shortened, they made stuff easier by giving you the Swift Cell. But they also updated the graphics where it looks a lot better than the original GameCube version, which is debatable. Like, people liking something more, like, everyone has opinions, but for the most part, I think it looks like a better game. And then the Twilight Princess treatment, they added in amiibo functionality. And they also gave you a completely brand new dungeon, which kind of a new dungeon. Wasn't necessarily a dungeon, but sort of something similar. So for Skyward Sword, we said that we wanted the graphics updated, similarly to Wind Waker HD, because in Twilight Princess HD, it looked like you're just running on an emulator with HD textures. It doesn't really look as much of an improvement as Wind Waker did, where Wind Waker HD looks like an actual new version of the game, where the Wii U Twilight Princess just looks like a slightly better version. But anyways, we would want it to be updated like Wind Waker HD, maybe a bit more colorful and stuff. If possible, map the controls to an actual controller so you're not forced to use the Wiimote, but have the option to use the Wiimote. Like Twilight Princess had the Wii version and the Gamecube version where you could use motion controls or an actual controller, so do that for Skyward Sword. Give us like a Loftwing or a Groose amiibo, or both. Who knows?
Yes.
Have it so that when you drop in on the Loftwing into Skyloft, the game stops and loads you into Skyloft. Have it more of a seamless world, to where there's no loading screens or like fade to black and then cutting in. Like you just drop down and that's it. Kind of like in Breath of the Wild, where you can glide everywhere. And then, like, even if it's empty, let us see what's below the clouds. Like, don't let the clouds cover up everything. Give it a feeling of an actual world being there. And that's all that I can think of.
Like Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. Like when you're on Va Meadow, right?
Yeah. That's the flying one.
Yeah, you can see like the world of Hyrule below you. So have that in Skyward Sword. But what about you guys? Is there anything that you'd like to add really quick? Because there was the question from Amanda.
I would echo what you said about the motion controls. I know that's something I've brought up a lot. The whole reason I haven't played Skyward Sword yet is not because of people saying the motion controls are bad, but because I'm left-handed. That's the whole reason I sold my Twilight Princess on my Wii, so I could get one on my Wii U, so I can play updated graphics and game, but can use a control, because I'm left-handed, and a lot of left-handed people say it doesn't feel weird, but I just don't want that. So it's not because the motion controls are bad, but because I'm left-handed, and I would rather just play it with a regular controller. So I would just emphasize that. If they did it, make it so I can play it with a regular Pro controller.
Yeah, like, honestly, to switch it from being right-handed to left-handed wouldn't take that much work, because like I'm sure there's
do what
like
they did
a
to
line,
Twilight Princess and mirror it.
Like there's literally a line of code that they could probably type in that just mirrors everything.
Yeah, that was also actually why I got rid of my Twilight Princess Wii one, because I started playing it and I was like, wait a minute, because I had played some of the game, or I had already played the GameCube one. I was like, wait, no, he's right-handed, blasphemy. I mean, he's right-handed in Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild, but they didn't need to make him right-handed in Breath of the Wild.
I think that started because after Skyward Sword, I'll try to get through this really quick. So after Skyward Sword, Aonuma had an interview where they said they spent so much time working to get the motion controls perfect in Skyward Sword that they couldn't see them just scrapping that for the next Zelda game. So I think they had the intentions of Breath of the Wild or Zelda Wii U having motion controls like Skyward Sword. Like they brought back the stamina wheel and a bunch of other stuff that were first introduced in Skyward Sword. So maybe they had the same idea for Breath of the Wild, but then they were like, people didn't like the motion controls, so let's take it out. And then they just left like the way Link looks, they just left it the same. But anyways.
Yeah.
Kayla.
Hello.
Hi. You had your Skyward Sword HD thing?
Yeah, again, I think because we've talked about it so much, I totally agree with everything that you've said.
Yeah. I tried to recap everything as best I could.
Yeah. No, I think you had a pretty accurate recap, and other than that, I haven't been able to think of anything else that I'd really want to change about Skyward Sword.
Give
just
us
because
that Groose amiibo.
Yes. That's all I want. Give us a Groose amiibo. Don't change the game too much. Keep it the way that we love it, but at the same time, fix your little flaws and promote it really nicely so that way everyone that doesn't like Skyward Sword can come back to it and be like, oh, this game is old, but it's changed.
Yeah, it has some of the best music and literally the best story of almost any game that
Yes.
I've played.
So good.
It's such a beautiful story.
Yeah. Ilya, take us, or Kayla, do you have the question from Amanda?
I do. Amanda, one of our newest Patreons, asks, where would you want to live in the Zelda universe and why? And I already have my answer for this. I would either want to live in Faron Woods or in the Lost Woods.
Now,
because
is this assuming it's an era of peace? Like it's not Breath of the Wild's Hyrule, where like guardians are going to take you out?
Yeah, you know what? I would say, like, we're just gonna say, like, this is an area of peace. There's probably,
Okay.
like, a couple little, like, you know, bad guys kicking around, but nothing that we can't handle.
All right.
Yeah, so I would want to be in Lost Woods or Faron Woods, just because I am very much kind of a forced child.
Wait, so you say the Lost Woods or Faron?
Yeah.
Like, do you mean like Kokiri Forest or like Korok Forest or Ordon Village type place, or
Oh, so
like
to
are you wanting
more
to turn
specific,
into like a Stalfos in the Lost Woods?
Yes, I want to be a Stalfos in the Lost Woods. I think that would actually be great. Honestly, just like anywhere with lots of trees and anywhere away from people. My favorite would probably be like Faron Woods in Skyward Sword. It was just very bright and lively and very fun kind of feeling, and that's where I'd want to live. And also, they have like a little bit of like a water component going on there too, so it gives me like the best of both worlds that I need in life.
All right, Ilya.
Well, I have two answers that tied, and there's a reason for this. My first thought was Windfall Island, because I love, as much as I hate being in heat and humidity, I do love the beach, and I just think that island is just a beautiful little place, and I feel like it's very calm and sweet, small town, and I feel like that would just have like everything I need, just like close-knit group of people. The one downfall is if I wanted to go anywhere, I'd have to ride on a boat, and I am deathly afraid of boats. I will get in the water. I am totally fine with riding behind a boat on a tube, but I hate boats. I cry when I have to use the ferry at Disney World instead of the monorail. Not even joking. I don't know what it is. I don't like boats. So my second choice would be living in an Ordon village in a time of peace. All of this in a time of peace. But although Windfall Island's pretty peaceful, even in the game. So, my second choice would be Ordon Village. Basically, put me back to being 17 years old and have me replace the actual Ilya in there so I can be with Link, because that was my main crush back when that game came out.
Aww. I feel
I'm
that,
just
actually.
saying, he's the hottest Link. He is.
He is.
I
He
feel weird
is.
saying that now since I'm 23. Oh, wait a minute. I'm older than you. That's. But
All right.
yeah.
I would pick great answers from both of you, by the way, but none of them are as good as Hyrule Castletown, the way it looked in Breath of the Wild.
You wanna go live
it
in
burned
ruins?
down.
Oh, okay.
And Kakariko Village and Ocarina of Time is one of my absolute favorite places. Every time there is a new Kakariko Village in a Zelda game, but it doesn't look like Ocarina of Time's Kakariko Village, I get a little bit sad. Because I love the way it looks. And it might just be because I spent the most time there in Zelda games. But, yeah. That would be mine, too. And I think that's all of them, right? All the questions from the Patreon supporters. All right. We had an exclusive Patreon Zelda Mailbag this time, which is very different. Because usually people just donate the money and then not ask questions. But thank you,
you're
everyone
not taking advantage.
who did. Yes.
And that was a great last question, by the way. I mean, I liked all the questions, but I really liked Amanda's question.
Yeah. Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah,
I
it
think
kind
we
of like
all
immersed
imagine
me. It took me
ourselves-
back. Yeah, I was like, I could be there.
I could so live on Windfall Island.
Oh, yeah. The Wind Waker has, like, really pretty places, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing is I do hate the heat and humidity
Oh yeah.
so much. I prefer to live where there's actual seasons, which I don't at the current.
Yeah. Well, like, they have the outfits. Like, if you could put on the red tunic and walk inside a volcano and not, die from the heat, then I imagine they have, like, other magical clothing that you can just put it on and it'll always feel nice and cool.
I will say, though, since it is a beach, it's probably pretty breezy, although I was walking on the beach this evening and it was not breezy at all, and I was like, what the fudge duck? Like,
all right. Well, Ilya, who are you and why should people care about you?
who am I? I am Ilya Rose. You can check me out on Ilya Rose. I have a few videos up. They're mainly Zelda, but I also have other nerdy videos. I post every other Wednesday, so next Wednesday I'll post one. You can also find me on Instagram at IlyaRose_GeekApprentice. I post weird things. And on Twitter, sometimes I go on there and at Rose_Ilya, where I talk about how much I wish I could choreograph a giant dance production that's all about the entire Zelda series.
Oh, who's
Me
the guy
fantasizing.
from Majora's Mask that does the dance?
Oh God, no.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
the dancing man you have to teach the twins?
No, there is footage somewhere in the universe of one of my
doing
brothers
that
and
dance.
I doing that dance.
Oh, nice.
That's amazing.
When I was
want to
like,
see it.
I would have been like 6 or something.
You need to
don't
upload
know.
that
My
to
brother
your
would have been
YouTube
10.
for your Patreon supporters.
I was an ugly child. Let's not.
So was I.
Like, everyone's like, my ugly phase was blah, 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 blah. I'm like, my ugly phase started the moment we chopped off all my hair. My choice. My hair was past my butt, and I decided to cut it off to a bob, and it looked bad because I have a round face. From age,
You're
like,
telling me-
8 till 18. It was bad.
One time I got lice and my family didn't want to deal with it, so they shaved my head and we went to Hawaii and everyone thought I was their son.
Oh, wow.
Everyone thought my brother was my mom's first daughter. They're like, oh, he's so cute. Like, obviously, before I was born. My mom's like, no, I have him dressed in blue. I have him in all the gender stereotype colors. There's trains. There's animals. There's nothing girly about this. He's just a very pretty baby.
All right. Ilya, what was the newest video that you posted?
What was the news video? Oh, I talked about the theory of Link and Zelda being siblings, not only siblings, but twins in Ocarina of Time, which I was a firm believer of for a long time. Now I know better. I got wise. So I kind of talk about that theory. I'm very sassy in the video, so to anyone who's a diehard fan of that theory, I apologize, but the sass is real in that video. I filmed it like 3 months ago, so...
Yeah. You said people on Zelda Amino commented about it.
Yes, I think
So-
there was like one person when I posted the video who was like, oh yeah, I totally love that theory too, and I was like, you didn't watch it, did you?
Yeah.
But yes, I do have a Hyrule Amino, but I'm never use it to post
We,
theories. I used to do a fan fiction.
Oh, nice.
Yikes.
It was so bad.
We may have a sponsorship coming up from Zelda Amino again.
Whoa.
They sponsored some videos a long time ago. Like if you watch our Twilight Princess HD review, it was sponsored by Zelda Amino. But anyways,
It was either your channel or someone else's channel that I first learned about Hyrule Amino, which would have been like after my freshman year of college, I think.
Kayla, who are you, and why should we care about you?
Because
I
she's a
am
wonderful human
Kayla.
being.
You can find me at Chublima on Twitter and Tumblr and RuneScape. You can also find
What
me
is
here.
Tumblr used for?
Oh gosh. So my
don't
Tumblr is
understand
mostly I just reblog things I like. Most of my memes come from Tumblr. Tumblr is a very dark and scary place, and I don't suggest you follow me on there honestly, but see you on
But
Tumblr maybe.
RuneScape
And
follow you on RuneScape.
yes. Come hang out with me on RuneScape.
Oldie but a goodie.
Exactly. And yeah, you can find me here on the podcast every week. That's me.
And Twitter, everything is
My-
at Chiblima.
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah, and Ilya is at Rose_Ilya.
For Twitter, yes.
Yeah, and Instagram is the Geek Apprentice, Ilya Rose.
IlyaRose_Geek Apprentice. Because
Yeah.
eventually I will
Not
change
my
my
glasses, but I feel
YouTube to
weird
just
about
say
them.
that.
Amanda in the chat says Zelda
do that.
fanfics are the best fanfics.
If you take the time to read mine, it's really so cringeworthy.
It's really
I was
what?
supposed to make 3 books. It's cringeworthy.
Oh,
I was supposed to make 3 books. I got halfway through the second and went, what am I doing? And stopped.
all right. Well, everywhere Instagram. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see mostly just pictures of my daughter and I. Twitter is where I post most of my YouTube stuff. Facebook is where I talk with friends. Discord is where I talk with friends and fans and everyone. Yeah, so everything, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, everything literally is /GameOverJesse. We've all been playing Fortnite lately, so if that's something you're into, you can play Fortnite with us, which means if you're a fan, you might get a chance to appear on a live stream when we play Fortnite. So yeah, with all of that out of the way, thank you Maka, who's no longer here with us. Thank you Daniel, who is also no longer here with us. He had stuff to do earlier.
He
I
had
suppose.
life.
Yeah, he had a IRL stuff, unlike us. No, but seriously, thank you, Ilya. It was really weird. You messaged me before I had even messaged you, funnily enough, and was like, hey, I might be able to join for the mailbag, but probably won't be able to make it for the actual podcast tonight. And then like an hour later, I messaged you and was like, hey, Kayla told me Daniel's not going to be able to make it. So would you be able to join? Yeah, because like when 4 people are on, it makes it a lot easier because 3 people has
Yeah.
the screen like this. So thank you for taking time out of your vacation or whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, it's just my family in this ginormous beach house for a
Nice.
week.
Is it one that you guys own, or is it just like one rented out?
Rent it out.
All right. And
Oh, we don't have that kind of money.
Chiblima, you are at your new place tonight.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Will be doing lots of unpacking.
Yeah, and this is your bedroom?
This is my entire house.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
Let me just. This is my entire house, guys. Woo!
Oh, that's the one you called the dungeon, right?
This is the dungeon.
Yeah.
But you get to be on your own again.
Yeah. Was that a chewy sound?
It's my excitement sound.
All right. Well, thank you, Ilya. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, everybody that watched. There was about 40 to 50 at times. Still 34 of you watching. I don't know why. But thank you all so much for watching, and especially thank you to all of the Patreon people. Bye.